A big series against the Braves took 2 of 3. How are you guys feeling?
Yeah, that was huge for us. Lost game 1 and took the last 2, so that's huge for us in the second half.
And you're off today?
Yes.
Off day in New York City. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I haven't seen the Statue of Liberty yet, so.
Really?
Yeah,
You're doing that?
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
Yeah.
Already came, it came this side, so now he's got to go back to get to the.
I tried to go to the Statue of Liberty. It takes like 3 months to get in, but I guess.
Never been. Grew up here. Never been. Swear.
Gotta change that.
That's pretty
Jake,
bad.
the season has been a little bit of everything for you guys. How would you describe what you guys have faced so far this season?
Yeah. I mean, obviously we're frustrated with where we're at. We know what type of talent we have, and the locker room, clubhouse is awesome. So obviously this was a big series coming off with Atlanta, and hopefully we get some momentum going and show what we really have in that clubhouse.
Let the people know, you were a first-round pick, and I remember watching a couple years ago, and you're running to first base, and it was like you got kicked in the back of the shin right there, and then you end up with Achilles and then back again. Take me through that process mentally, and then coming off that, you were just in Atlanta. Mike Soroka, I lived there. He went through kind of the same deal. Yeah,
it's tough. I mean, I remember we were playing Oakland in a spring training game. I think it was like my 4th big league spring training game.
Yeah.
I only had a half a year of pro ball under my belt, and it was devastating. Because I didn't know how long it was going to take. I wasn't really familiar with Achilles injuries at all. And I go through the process, and 8 weeks later.
What should be the normal process? What did they tell you right out of the gate?
Typically, it's a 12-month process. I felt good about that. I'm like, okay, but obviously missing this year, and hopefully get back there next year and go from there. And then 8 weeks later, I re-tear it, and obviously they want to be a little more careful with that time, and it was going to take anywhere from 13 to 18 months at that point. It was a long process for sure.
And when did you feel in the box, I'm back?
I would honestly, so in 2020, there was a collegiate baseball league that I played in. I was just trying to get some sort of at-bats and whatnot. And, I played a couple games there, and then I got invited to the alternate site. And I think I hit a double off of Garrett Crochet, and I'm like, okay, like we're getting there. Yeah, like now we're getting back to my normal self, and it still takes some time.
That's what's funny about baseball. Sometimes the mentality has to come first, right? So that's what I wanted to ask you about. Offensively at the plate, obviously people talk about physical adjustments or mechanics, but mentally, what's your approach at the plate? What are you thinking about when you're up there? Obviously a guy with a ton of power, but what's your idea when you're in the box?
I actually had a conversation with our sports psychologist a couple weeks ago, where it's when you're getting in that box, you're the best player on the planet, and that's the only thing you can think about. So that's kind of been my approach, ever since I came back. It's obviously you have 2 Achilles tears. It's like, hey, nobody's gone through that other than Mike Soroka. And it's like, hey, like if I can get through that, I can get through anything.
You've always hit. I just got back from a 13U tournament in Orlando. You strike me as you tore those things apart.
He was the same guy. He looked exactly the same at 13.
Yeah, all the way.
Where you also had a heavy beard at 13?
Yeah, heavy beard, no hair.
Hey, you know what? Every time I walk into the studio, that's what I have, the mentality. I'm the best player here. So I'm going to let you, we're all going to let you guys do your thing and talk more with Jake Berger.
Real
Take
quick,
it away, guys.
How's Pedro Grifol been?
He's awesome.
Change of pace, huh?
Yeah, he's awesome. He's been unbelievable to me, great communicator, and he's been nothing but positive. So.
Do you dive in on the numbers?
Oh yeah.
You're a big video guy.
Big video, big analytics.
Capalbo, bring up the first board for him. I want the slug leaders, because I don't think people realize. Did you know this?
See, I didn't know this. No, not this part.
Ohtani,
but he's
Seager,
now he knows.
Luis Robert.
Now he knows he's the best in the box. Now he knows it. That's good. That's what you need to look at right there.
Exactly.
All right, so when I watch you, obviously, you pound the fastball. So take me inside the mindset. You're stepping in the box. Are you always on the heater? Are you a little bit of a guessy guess?
If it's going,
I was more of a kind of flip a coin educatedly.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Sometimes you're gonna guess wrong, and it's a 3-pitch strikeout.
Yeah.
But I always have that mindset. Like, you want to be on the fastball at all times, right? I mean, And in this day and age, I mean, they're electric fastballs. We just faced Strider, you know, that's an electric
Crazy,
fastball.
right?
So you always gotta honor the fastball at almost every single at bat. You know, but obviously there's some analytics in there and data that can kind of shift that approach a little bit, just based off of what the pitcher's doing.
You're on the heater.
Are you
Ohtani, by the way, is a leader in
everything?
Everything.
Yeah, you know, we don't even have to put it. You might as well just not put him up there and just start with 2.
Let's get into his swing a little bit. Run the B-roll. I want to get on his heater, and go ahead, Anthony. Do your
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. Well, when you're thinking fastball, or if you're on another pitch, what's your timing like? So I've talked to guys, and you know, one of the best things that was ever taught to me, it was late in my career. It was too late. But it was always
Right
be
there.
on the heater. Always at least be on time for the heater, because no matter what, especially you get to 2 strikes, you can't always just sit on one pitch. Always at least be on time for the heater and then adjust from there. Is that kind of your thought process?
Yeah. I mean, if you're in the right spot to hit the heater, your brain and your mechanics are going to adjust to whatever's thrown to you.
What
whether
you're
it's
seeing,
a curveball
right?
or
Yeah.
a slider, and you know, you'll lay off more pitches if you're in that mindset.
Have you changed much since college, high school?
Since the injury.
Setup, injury?
Yeah. So in college, I kind of had the Arenado like little step back
Really?
load, and I got to the alternate side, and like one of my first at bats was against Carlos Rodon on like a little rehab start, and I was doing the step back, and I'm just getting
late.
blown up, and I'm like, hey, I gotta simplify this real quick because that's not gonna play at all. And so, you know, I kind of got a little wider, got a little more into my backside. You know, I made it a lot more simple, and obviously I have to be able to hit a 98-mile-an-hour fastball.
Yeah.
So yeah, it helped.
Were you always an elbow up guy?
Yeah, I've always been kind of the elbow up and really feel that scap load. That's kind of like the thought that I've always had since, I don't know,
Really?
5 years old.
So you're not, because I'm teaching
all
my kid, like I'm watching everybody
That hip.
set that hip. You're setting a scap.
Yeah, those are the 2 points for me, is the scap and the hip. You know, I really have to get in my hip, and the scap's gonna keep my shoulder straight to the pitcher. You know, if I'm rolling in, I'm not scap loading, and then I'm coming up and out. But if I'm scapping correctly and hip loading correctly, everything's straight at the pitcher, and I can have coverage on every single pitch.
All right,
Creating that lag, that's nice.
run this real quick. Pretty easy. There's not much toe tap. There's no big leg kick. You're just pretty much setting it down.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Is it an intentional thought process? I mean, you mentioned being like more simple, but even just being relaxed. You're really relaxed. I mean, look at that. It looks comfortable. You look comfortable at the plate. I mean, obviously that's a goal. Is that a thought process? That's what you're going for?
Yeah. If I get too amped, you know, I'm a high energy guy, and so if I get too amped, you know, I'm swinging at everything. I'm trying to dive towards the baseball. So I have to go in there with, you know, trying to feel like 20% of what I have and slow it down.
Yeah.
There's no cheapies here, by the way. I mean, when you clip it. And Eric Nays, researcher to the stars, works with me. He always dives in on everybody we're talking about, and he says you're going after elevated heaters way more. Is that where your sights are set?
Yeah, I mean, I actually.
Look at this.
Yeah.
Highest slug on elevated pitches since the start of 22.
Yeah.
Look at Corbin Carroll. It's Ohtani. Get out of there, Ohtani.
He's on everything.
And then Jake Berger.
Yeah. I mean, I think you have to work top to bottom. You know, I mean, this day and age with the off speed that all these guys have, you know, a lot of it's strike the ball, you know, bottom of the zone type stuff. So you got to work top to bottom.
Is that something you do in the cage? You have like a T routine, or like, I mean, I started using like a high velocity machine at the end of mine. Like, are you doing a lot of stuff like that?
Yeah, I've never really been a T person. You know, I'm never gonna hit a standing still ball unless I'm on the golf course. You know, so I've never really bought into that. But we use the iPitch, which is Chris Johnson uses it. He's our assistant hitting coach, and you know, we'll put in any type of pitch that the pitcher has and work off high velocity. And then we have heater balls that basically you put them in the machine, and they rise like that.
Like
and
a foam ball?
Yeah, and trying to stay on top of it and you know, work top to bottom from that.
Are you going outside taking BP?
Not a BP guy. We'll do early hitting with the iPitch machine, but you know, that's typically what I use.
Here's the pitch by pitch against Colby Allard the other day. He's keeping the ball down. 2-1 count. Good night. So I would think against a Colby Allard, you know, and no disrespect to, he can't get in on you.
Yeah,
That's what I would think.
you have to back the baseball up. You know, you don't want to go out there. He's got a really good curveball.
Yes.
You know, you don't want to get beat out in front on the curveball.
Gonna take us through this whole stuff.
Oh yeah.
Who we paying homage
Chicago
to?
gangster,
a
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of
Oh, yeah.
the vibe. Elvis Andrus came up with that one.
And then I like the mustache. You change it up. You're going beard.
Yeah, my wife loves the mustache.
Does
you know,
she?
I think I had to get a little reset. I had a tough June, so you know.